Hi, my name is Emma Whitaker. I'm 28 and I live in a small town in Ohio. I've always considered myself the responsible one in the family, the one who plans ahead, saves money, and keeps my life together while everyone else seems to float along. But last week, I felt like all of that responsibility was used against me in the cruelest way. My brother, Tyler Whitaker, called me late at night, his voice casual and almost excited. "Hey, can I borrow some money? I'm kind of in a bind again." My stomach sank because I knew exactly what this meant. A few months ago, without asking me, he had taken my emergency savings, a fund I had painstakingly built over 2 years, for a rainy day. And now he was asking for even more. I remember the moment I realized how little he respected me. The anger hit first, sharp and immediate, but then it was the disappointment that stung the most. How could someone I grew up with, someone I trusted more than anyone else, treat me this way? And worse, my parents, well, they would probably tell me to just help him out. Again, sitting at my kitchen table, staring at my dwindling bank account on my laptop, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just a minor irritation. This wasn't just sibling borrowing that went too far. This was betrayal, pure and simple. And I knew, deep down, that this was the breaking point, the moment where I had to decide if I would continue letting him take advantage of me or if I would finally stand up for myself. Growing up, our house in Columbus, Ohio, was a place of unspoken rules and invisible hierarchies. My parents, Linda and Robert Whitaker, were good people, but they had their favorites, and it was painfully obvious that Tyler was the golden child. Even as kids, he could do almost anything and get away with it. I remember one Christmas, I spent hours making a handmade gift for Mom and Dad, pouring all my energy and love into it. Tyler, on the other hand, received a brand new video game he had been asking for weeks. When I unwrapped my carefully crafted present, my mom smiled politely but then turned her attention to Tyler, praising him for being so clever. I remember feeling small, invisible, and like nothing I did would ever be enough. School projects, sports, chores. No matter how hard I worked, it was Tyler who got the compliments, the attention, and, eventually, the leeway to make poor choices without consequence. When I fell behind in my math homework or forgot to clean my room, the criticism was sharp and swift. But Tyler? He could leave his homework on the kitchen counter for days and get a shrug in response. Even as teenagers, our dynamic was the same. I would save my allowance for emergencies for college for the future. Tyler, on the other hand, would blow his money on parties, gadgets, or quick fixes, and then expect me to help. And more often than not, I did because I believed in family and I believed in him. But that belief came at a cost I hadn't realized until that fateful call last week. It wasn't just favoritism, it was a pattern. A pattern that taught me early on that my needs were secondary, my efforts were invisible, and my boundaries didn't matter. And now, all those lessons were colliding in a way I couldn't ignore. After college, I moved to Cincinnati for a stable job as a financial analyst. I worked long hours, often skipping lunches and staying late to prove myself, all while saving every extra dollar I could. I had dreams, buying my own apartment, traveling, maybe even starting a small business someday. I thought I was finally building a life where I could breathe and be independent. But Tyler, he never changed. He would call constantly, asking for small loans that eventually became large ones. At first, I felt guilty saying no, so I gave in. I stayed up late, watching my account balance shrink, listening to him complain about rent, bills, car repairs, and dating mishaps. Every time I transferred money, I told myself it was temporary, that I was helping family. Then came the night he took my emergency savings. 2 years of careful budgeting, scraped pennies, skipped dinners, all gone in a few careless clicks. And he didn't just take it. He had the audacity to act like it was nothing. "You know I'll pay you back soon," he said, like it was a casual promise instead of a broken one. I tried to be patient, rational, and forgiving. I reminded myself that family sometimes struggles, that love means sacrifice. But no matter how much I gave, how much I supported him emotionally or financially, it was never enough. Every sacrifice felt invisible. Every effort dismissed. My patience had limits, and they were wearing thin. Even my friends noticed the change in me. I was exhausted, anxious, and constantly calculating my finances, always wondering if Tyler would call again, always fearing another betrayal. The tension kept building, gnawing at me from the inside. I knew something had to give. I couldn't keep being the bank, the caretaker, and the emotional punching bag all at once. And then came last week's call, the one where he asked for more, after already taking everything I had saved. That was it. That was the moment I realized I couldn't just keep giving. I had reached my breaking point. The next evening, Tyler showed up at my apartment unannounced. His grin was casual, but I could feel the tension building in my chest. "Hey, he said, "so, can I get a little help again?" "Just a few hundred." I froze. My hands were shaking as I held the envelope of bills I had been planning to pay myself. All the anger I had been holding back surged at once. "Tyler, this ends now," I said, my voice louder than I intended. "You already took my emergency savings. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" He shrugged, as if my feelings didn't exist. "Come on, it's just money. I'll pay you back, I swear." I looked at him, at my parents' faces when they would inevitably say, "Just help him, honey, he needs it," and I realized I couldn't take it anymore. Their silence, their enabling, their constant favoritism, it had allowed this behavior for years. I couldn't let it continue. Without another word, I grabbed my coat, my bag, and left the apartment. The door slammed behind me, echoing in the empty hallway like a punctuation mark on years of sacrifice and invisible pain. For the first time in my life, I didn't look back. I just walked away, letting the night swallow my frustration and heartbreak, feeling a strange mix of fear and relief. That night, I didn't go back. I returned to my apartment long enough to pack essentials, sell a few belongings I couldn't carry, and quietly close that chapter of my life. I quit my job at the firm and bought a one-way bus ticket to Denver, Colorado, a city I had never lived in but always admired from afar. Starting over was terrifying. I had no apartment lined up, no friends, no network. Just the clothes on my back and the tiny savings I had managed to keep separate from Tyler's reach. The first few weeks were lonely. I worked small jobs, barista, bookstore assistant, even delivering packages just to cover rent and food. Every day felt like a struggle, but for the first time, it was my struggle, not one dictated by anyone else's selfish needs. Slowly, life began to shift. I rented a small studio apartment with a view of the mountains, a place that felt like it belonged to me. I joined a local writing group, made friends who genuinely cared, and started a side hustle helping people budget and manage their finances. Each small success, each little connection, rebuilt the confidence Tyler and my family had chipped away over the years. The real healing came when I realized I didn't need anyone's approval to validate my worth. I had been so used to bending for Tyler, to smoothing over his mistakes, that I had forgotten what it meant to stand for myself. In Denver, I rediscovered that independence, that inner strength. I was no longer the invisible sister, the one whose needs didn't matter. I was Emma, capable, resourceful, and finally free. And though the memories of betrayal still stung, I had reclaimed my peace. I had chosen to disappear not out of spite, but out of survival. And that choice, difficult as it was, became the foundation for the life I had always wanted. A few months into my new life, the calls and messages started. Tyler sent texts filled with half-hearted apologies. "I didn't mean to hurt you, can we talk?" I ignored them. I knew better than to fall for his empty promises. Then came my parents. First, it was Linda leaving voicemails, tearful and pleading. "Emma, we're worried about you. Tyler struggling, come home." Robert sent emails detailing financial emergencies and subtle hints of guilt. I knew they were manipulating me, trying to pull me back into the same patterns I had escaped. I even received a visit from distant relatives, all asking why I had abandoned the family. Their concern felt like accusation, wrapped in fake sympathy. But I refused. I realized that my absence didn't hurt them. It scared them because I was no longer under their control. Tyler tried again in private, promising he'd repay every dollar, begging me to trust him. But I had grown stronger. I calmly told him, "I've built my life, Tyler. I'm not your safety net anymore." The words felt like armor, protecting the life I had fought so hard to create. For the first time, I understood that love isn't supposed to hurt constantly, that family isn't defined by blood alone, and that sometimes standing firm is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. Now, a year later, I sit in my small Denver apartment, sunlight streaming through the window, a cup of coffee warming my hands. Life is quiet, but it's mine. I think about Tyler, my parents, and the past, not with anger, but with clarity. Walking away was not punishment. It was survival. I've learned that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's essential. I've learned that family is proven by love, not just blood. And I've learned that my worth is not measured by how much I give to people who take for granted my heart, my effort, or my trust. Every day, I celebrate the small victories, a steady paycheck, a supportive friend, moments of genuine laughter. I no longer live in fear of betrayal or disappointment because I've built a life that can't be broken by others' selfishness. To anyone listening, here's the truth I wish someone had told me years ago. Protect your peace. Honor your boundaries. Choosing yourself is not only allowed, it's necessary. I am Emma Whitaker, and for the first time, I am truly free.